What is up, my friends? It is Wednesday. You're very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. As always, we have a lot to discuss. On tonight's show, we're going to be giving you the rundown on when you can expect to see Andoni IRAOLA. We'll be talking about Diamonde and whether he goes to PSG, Liverpool, or stays at Leipzig. A little bit on Matheus Fernandes as the race is heating up for his signature, and we'll have lots more as well over the next 90 minutes or so. As always, my friends, appreciate your support. So anything you guys want to discuss, you know the drill. Lash it into the chat and we'll get there. Theo, how are you? Hey, Craig, I'd like to sign Gertrude, Schlotterbeck, Alex Scott, Wharton, Diamonde, Matheus Fernandes. We should be able to sign these players in an ideal world. Lots of transfers there, my man. Lots of transfers. But look, we'll try to figure it out over the next while. I do expect things to speed up on the transfer front once IRAOLA gets confirmed, and we'll talk through what David Lynch has had to say in the time frame on that one as well momentarily. Scotty, 61 months, over 5 years, my man. Absolute pleasure. Let's go up the Reds. Love the setup, Craig. When the official announcement you think from the club? Well, maybe tomorrow is what it's looking like. Let me read it out to you, Scotty, what David Lynch has said. He said, Andoni IRAOLA is scheduled to travel to Merseyside tomorrow morning to finalise his move to Liverpool. He's expected to put pen to paper on a 2-year contract as the final details of the appointment are completed. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got an announcement tomorrow evening, but I'm sure you'll start to see the images and him arriving and all the fun stuff that we enjoy when somebody's joining the club. So yeah, and on the 2-year contract thing, this is something that I've been looking into over the last 24 hours, and it is just the way he operates. He wants to basically earn the next contract. I think at Rayo Vallecano, we said at one point he used to basically just year on year have a contract that at the end of the season they just sat down, talked and went again. So yeah, not unusual at all from to 1 to 2 year contract. That's the way he operates. So Liverpool are happy to do it by the looks of it. And the theory for him is he likes to earn that contract to make sure everybody's happy. And then he rolls into another one. So let's wait and see how it all works out. But it does look as if tomorrow is going to be a big day on the IRAOLA front. I can't see Diamonde coming over them. I don't know what happens with Yan Diamonde, in all honesty. Like, there was a quote from him today which was talking a little bit about PSG and stuff. He said, "It's a club I've loved since I was very young, but I'm not looking too far ahead. I'm staying focused on the World Cup. We'll see what happens afterwards." So yeah, honestly, I don't know where he ends up, but it is the first poll question of the night. What happens with Yan Diamonde at the start of next season? Will he join Liverpool? Will he join PSG? Or will he stay at RB Leipzig for another season? I don't know the answer to it, but I'm intrigued to find out, the same as everybody else. What happened to the studio? I've explained 3-4 times, mate, over the last day or two. There's a small technical thing that's gone wrong, and we'll be in there by Monday. So nothing dramatic, just a little thing that had to be figured out before we can start streaming from it, and it'll be done by Monday. And today, we tried to do some of it today, but the weather was against us, so yeah, just have to hang on a little bit. But don't worry, no drama or anything like that. We'll be all good. Schlotterbeck or Bastoni would be unbelievable. Will solidify that defence way more. I'm not really sure on Bastoni. I really amn't. Like, in a back three, yes, but in a centre-back pairing, no. I think Schlotterbeck's the way to go if Liverpool are looking to do some business at centre-back. I think Schlotterbeck's the smart one. Now, of course, Schlotterbeck operates more on the left-hand side of the back four, but at least that's my understanding. But with Virgil having 1 year to go on his contract, I just think it would be a sensible addition if it could be done. And from chatting to people, they definitely do expect the transfer stuff to really heat up over the next couple of days. You just want to get the manager's contract sorted out first and then push on from there. Leona, I did English paper 1 today and school on news. Well done you, and I hope the leaving cert goes well for you. I'm glad I'm not doing it. God, I remember those days. That was a stressful couple of weeks. So yeah, lots of conjecture, I think that's the best word, about Alexis McAllister and his future as well. Some links linking him to Real Madrid and a move away from Liverpool, but his father said so far that everything circulating around Madrid, as far as he's concerned, is not true. He said they've had no contact with Madrid, so it doesn't look like those stories, at least at this point, have any credibility to them. I know there was a fake story doing the rounds as well about Cody Gakpo. You guys may have seen it on social media, saying Cody Gakpo wants to leave Liverpool and is handing in a transfer request. We believe that's absolute bollocks, to be honest with you. We can't even find a credible source of where that rumour really started. But as far as we're aware, it is just that, just rubbish. Daniel, to my favourite Liverpool channel, always top-notch work. Thank you, bro. Didn't know whether I was going to be able to stream or not today. You've probably seen I didn't do a video earlier on today, which I normally do. Just been a pretty rough day on the illness front, so I wanted to just save my energy to make sure I could come on to do a stream. But Daniel, thank you, my man. Appreciate you. Imagine in 5 years, Abe and Rio in the attacking three. Well, yeah, that is, I suppose, big news today from a Liverpool perspective, that Liverpool have convinced Josh Abe to sign his scholarship contract with Liverpool Football Club. You know, every top club in Europe had been courting this young man, and Liverpool thought at one point that they might lose him. But after talking to City, to Arsenal, to United, to Real Madrid, and I think many others, Joshua Abe's decided, and good decision on his behalf as far as I'm concerned, to continue his development with Liverpool Football Club, and he will sign that 2-year scholarship deal soon. So yay, good news on that one, because honestly I thought we'd lost him based off some stuff that'd been reported, and you know, images of him at the Etihad and a few other places. So yeah, good news on that one, that he's going to continue with Liverpool, because we would have been, well, that would have hurt if we had lost him, put it that way. Where are we at? Yeah, I've done that one. Cool. Hey, Craig, I'm loving the extra channel. When I get off work, I add the videos to my YouTube playlist and then watch them on my TV. Nice one, thank you. Yeah, it's exciting. We have high hopes for Anfield Agenda Extra for the new season. Lewis put out a second video on there today. Again, thank you to Lewis for that, and thank you to you guys for giving it a watch and letting us know your thoughts. We're recording a podcast tomorrow, myself, Benson, Lewis, so there'll be a couple of clips of that up on the extra channel over the next few days, and the full episode, of course, will be up on our Spotify. Right, ladies and gents, so where to start? Darwin Núñez is a free agent, yeah, and I still wouldn't take him. Look, that to me is just madness. The whole idea of Darwin Núñez is just madness. And I know that lots of Liverpool fans really like Darwin, and look, of course, no issue with that. But the idea of taking him back would just be madness, in my opinion. Yeah, it just would. It just doesn't seem like a sensible play at all to me. And I don't know of anything credible to say that it would be possible, could be considered. So I think it's just sentiment more than anything. One person said stream is lagging, but on my end it looks like it's okay. So yeah, I'm not sure. Looks like it's okay on my end, but apologies if it is. It seems to be okay here, but you know, I know sometimes these can be annoying issues. Trust me, there's nothing annoys a streamer more as well than a stream lagging, because you feel so helpless in those situations. But yeah, apologies if it is. It's looking okay on my end at this moment, but hopefully it's okay. Cool. Well, look, we'll carry on. Anyway. We'll see how we get on. Right, let me get into the news, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk to Matheus Fernandes' story, because that was the one that really caught my attention today. Look, I said to you guys a few weeks back that I'd love Liverpool to have a look at Matheus Fernandes, but in all honesty, I hadn't seen too much really linking Liverpool with him. But today, Team Talk have said that Liverpool have joined Manchester United, Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain in the race to sign Matheus Fernandes, after West Ham informed the midfielder that he can leave this summer. Now, the price tag, that seems on the excessive side to me. The Hammers are prepared to cash in following the relegation, but would demand a fee, they say, in the region of £80 million. Look, he is a good young midfielder, and I think Real Madrid today have been strongly linked as well. There's some reports that say Mourinho has said go and get him, but I don't know, 80 million quid? I can't see Madrid paying that from either, to be honest, but as a player, I'd have no problem taking him at Liverpool. I know United are strongly interested as well, but, you know, with them having agreed the deal to sign Ederson from Atalanta, I'm not sure where their list of priorities is, or in fact what their budget is for this window, but I do hope Liverpool are in that mix because I really rate him as a player. Is it just me, or does Alex Scott give off Lallana vibes? I don't know. I can't say it's something I've ever really thought about, but I don't know. Maybe next time I see him, I'll think along those lines, Adam. But for the moment, can't say it's something, mate, that I've thought up myself. So a couple of people are saying that it is buffering. I don't know what to say. Let me just check a couple of things now. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Apologies if it is on anyone's end lagging, but for me, all I can say is everything looks healthy and good on my end, stream wise. But appreciate your understanding. Where did you get / buy the Premier League and Champions League trophy from? I bought them from a company in Hong Kong. I found them on eBay. Got chatting with them, bought a few little bits off them first, and then found that they had, the full metal version of the Premier League trophy. So decided to get that. Now the Champions League one, that is just a resin copy, so it wouldn't be as high quality as the Premier League one, which is a full metal one. But yeah, found them both in a company in Hong Kong on eBay. Right, let's keep cracking on anyway. So Mateus Fernandes, folks, what are we saying? Is he worth 80 million quid? Thumbs up or thumbs down on that one. Is Mateus Fernandes worth 80 million quid? And any questions, of course, you guys have, do fire them in. If there's anything you want to know about the IRAOLA situation or anything like that, I'll do my best, of course, to answer them. There's a little bit of news on Alisson Becker as well, which I want to talk about in a few minutes' time. No, said a few people in the chat on 80 million. Yeah, look, I like the player. I do. But 80 million does feel excessive to me as well. Somebody says something at the studio. Just again to reiterate, it was supposed to be today, but I came on last night and I said that we had a small technical issue that meant we had to order a little part, and that part won't be here in time. So it'll be Monday before we're able to get into the studio. But don't worry, I'm itching to get in there as well and get cracking. I'd rather have Bowen from them. Oh, look, you know my take on Bowen, mate. I love Jarrod Bowen. I'd be more than happy to have Jarrod Bowen at Liverpool. 40 million tops. Does anybody happen to know off the top of their head what West Ham paid Southampton for Fernandes when they brought him in? Because I think it was a decent number, but I don't think it was an outlandish number. So I can't remember. I want to say it was about 35 or 40, but I can't remember off the top of my head. When will we hear from Chris again? Miss him in the podcast and love listening to him. Much love, Craig. He'll be on an episode soon. This week, myself and Connor just jumped on to have a chat because we hadn't discussed the Arne Slot situation together yet, so we just jumped on. But Chris is still in the mix, and Chris will be back with us soon. Don't worry about that. We're going to do 2 separate podcast groups each week. One will be myself, Bence, and Lewis, and the other will be myself, Connor, and Chris. Just haven't got round to catching up with Chris just yet. 35 million, but now they want more than double. Yeah, in one season. I mean, look, his reputation has improved, but has it improved to that extent in one season? I doubt it. And look, when a club gets relegated, they can throw out all the numbers that they want, but ultimately, West Ham are going to have to sell some players for some money to balance out the books here. So maybe the longer this goes on, the more West Ham's resolve is going to be tested. And it'll be interesting to see if any club come even close to the number, or if everybody waits and sees how he gets on at the World Cup, sees how he gets on in general, and then maybe try and force West Ham down to a lower fee as the window progresses. I hope we can see more podcasts on YouTube. Love listening whilst chilling. The YouTube stuff, the podcast, the full episodes are only going to be going up on Spotify. That's where the full episodes will be going. And then we'll take clips from them and put them up on YouTube on both of our channels. Ashton said, I'm going to the preseason game, Craig, in Chicago, so pretty excited to see who he could bring in by then. The next season will be much better with IRAOLA. Well, Soldier Field, right? I think that's the Chicago ground, isn't it? So yeah, enjoy. That's it's going to be an intriguing summer, and with the World Cup finishing, then straight into the preseason tour, then some friendlies, couple of friendlies, Monaco and Como at Anfield before the season starts. It's certainly going to be an interesting summer, and I do think we'll see things really ratchet up once the club gets this announcement done in the coming day or so. I know you don't rate Darwin much, but considering the depth at striker, Akatike out for the foreseeable future, would you take Darwin back? No, I wouldn't, Zach. We'd look like idiots, mate. We'd look like absolute fucking idiots taking back there. I don't even know how it's a conversation. Like, I know sometimes when we look back on things, we can glamorize them a little bit, or we can feel a little bit different to maybe we did in the moment. But no, there's no part of me whatsoever would take Darwin Núñez back at Liverpool, because I don't want to. I don't want to go through the same frustrations again. I'd rather Liverpool gave Will Wright an opportunity, Jayden Danns an opportunity, even Kumas, who played through the middle for Wales and got himself a goal at the end last night. I'd just rather something like that. It'd just be mad. Like it would just look so tin pot if we brought him back. Frankie said, would you take Stiller, and also any news on a right back since Dumfries has gone to Madrid? Nothing really concrete on a right back that I have for you, mate. No, nothing I could say now. Maybe other people would have more information there, but it feels interesting because according to Fabrizio Romano, last night, Liverpool were pushing right to the end for Denzel Dumfries. So it didn't seem to be a case that it was just an Arne Slot thing, and when he left, Liverpool changed their stance. But he is gone to Madrid now. I don't know what that means, so we'll have to go from there. Oh, let me just talk about this, lad. Be a man of your word and do a poll for your resignation. I'll tell you what I'll do, mate. No. How about that? How about I'll do a poll for these nuts? How about that? Does that work? Because I decided. And look, mate, I think the poll would be fairly lopsided. I'll tell you what I'll do for you. I won't waste the poll, but give me a love heart or a thumbs up in the chat if you want me to stay part of Anfield Agenda. And I tell you what, if the screen doesn't fill up with them, mate, then maybe we'll do the poll for you. But until then, I'll decide what the fuck I do with my future, and you'll sit there like a good little nobody and just watch. Because that's all you can ever do, my man. Watch. Haven't got the balls to do what I do. Haven't got the talent to do what I do. And most importantly, wouldn't do the numbers, which is the important part. Oh, look, it looks like I don't need a poll, Cole. It looks like, love wins once again, mate. So, there you go. That must break your heart. Look at that, Cole. That must break your little fucking heart, mate. Look at all those love hearts. Oh my days, Cole. You must be sitting there now, mate, devastated, are you? Devastated. In your little troll lounge, sitting there, devout. Fucking devastated. Oh, I'm embarrassed for you, Cole. But look, let's move on. Whoop, whoop. I'm a man of my word, Cole. I'm a man of my word. Right, let's go. Colzer, if you had 250 million to spend, irrespective of sales, who would you like to sign in priority? Diamande and Barcola. Let's be filthy greedy about this one. Diamande and Barcola. I like Wharton. I do. I like Wharton, but it's really difficult to know because until we know exactly what IRAOLA is going to be setting us up like, it's hard to really talk about personnel. And also, there's another aspect to this as well. One thing I think I feel pretty confident in saying about IRAOLA is we're going to see more young players given opportunities. And I'm happy about that. But it's so difficult to know because he could come in and go, right, Curtis Jones, I want you to be a big part of us moving forward. So you're staying, mate. We want you to get a new contract. Harvey Elliott, what happens there? Look, there's some common sense things, Colzer, I think the club need to do. We need to sort out the situation at right back, and we need to figure out exactly what we're doing there. We need to come to an agreement that is common sense with Costas, because I don't like the idea of him coming back in and being a left back for us, or a backup left back, when we'd already kind of made our minds up there and loaned him out. He couldn't break in at Roma, so I'm not having that he can come in at Liverpool. But honestly, I don't know. It's a really weird market at the minute, because you're looking around it and there isn't really a whole host of talent that's primed for moves. You know, there's a lot of clubs looking for wingers. We're obviously in that mix as well. Um, Kyoto is another name that's been mentioned a little bit by people. Truth is, I think we'll get a better understanding of this once we hear a little bit from IRAOLA, and maybe, you know, the journalists that cover Liverpool will get a couple of briefings or something, and we'll have a better idea of what direction Liverpool are looking to go in the market. Evening, David. Always a pleasure, my man. Appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much. And I did miss that when you're right, David. Yeah, no, I did miss it. I'm not even going to pretend, David. I did miss it. I don't know what it is, dude. I don't know what it is. Me and you, man, we're just destined to miss each other. Well, no, there's only one person here that's doing the missing, actually, and that's me, dude. You're always on point, so apologies on that one. Big Move Hughes said, Grav getting 280k a week was a big mistake for me. It depends. Look, the way I look at these things is I look at the player's age, I look at the contract length, and then I wonder when they're going to get their next renewal. So if he's on 280k a week now as a young midfielder, well, there's only one way that next negotiation is going to go, right? And that's upwards again. So I think it's too much as well. I do. I like him as a player, and I'm really glad he's at Liverpool. I love his versatility. I'm intrigued to see what role he'll play under Iriola, but yeah, it does feel excessive. So does Cody Gakpo's, though. They both feel on the high side. And I don't know. Maybe others disagree, but they do feel on the high side to me, especially when you think about what others have had to do to get into the higher wage bracket. So there's a story about Canada I want to read out to you guys, because if true, and I have to say if, because of course we take a lot of this stuff that's reported with a pinch of salt, but if this is true, it's pretty infuriating. So, a story from Mark Bruss, Empire of the Cop posted this, and they said Ibrahim Kanade had reportedly been open to joining Chelsea, Manchester United, and Bayern Munich before reaching a verbal agreement to sign for Real Madrid after the expiry of his contract with Liverpool. So, obviously, him going to Bayern Munich or Real Madrid, that's a different conversation. But come on now. Like, if that's true, that's fucking shocking. Like, honestly. Um, Manchester United in particular, like, that really is nuts if that's the case. So I don't know whether to believe it or not, because I don't know how they sourced the information or whatever, but it just feels if I don't know, it just feels a bit like the whole thing feels a bit convenient for me, how quick it all came that he was going to Madrid. The more I've thought about it, the more I've sat in it, it does feel like there was a higher number for Liverpool, because even reports I'm seeing about him going to Real Madrid, a couple of them are suggesting that he's going to go in on their second tier of wages, in and around the wages Trent is on and stuff. So he's not even going to be one of Madrid's highest earners, which, coming in on a free contract, you know, you would expect that, unless he's getting a huge hefty signing on bonus. Yeah. I don't understand what this means. Davil Lynch would do poll for resignation, man of word. Yeah, can we have that in English? Was anybody does anybody speak moron? Can anybody translate that for me? Anyone speak gobshite? So yeah, I don't know what. Just keep sending me money, mate. That's all you need to understand here. Is you just keep sending me money, and I'll just keep going like this, and then we all win, really, don't we? You know, we all win. This one. Cole Reardon is a sausage. I heard a cocktail sausage, personally, though. Alex, that's what I heard. Cocktail sausage was, but, I don't like to talk. I don't like to gossip. Big moves, Hughes. Also, Diamande is like Robbie Keane, supports every club, this fella. um, I love that reference, by the way. Sorry. That was like a running joke in my household as well about Robbie Keane. It seemed like wherever he went, he'd had a lifelong affiliation with that club. But look, I really don't know what happens with Yan Diamande. I remember the Liverpool stuff, of course, but I also remember him saying that was probably more about his dad, and I don't know. Like, I really don't know where he ends up at this point. But we have a poll running, and we're asking, where does Yan Diamande end up next season? Does he stay at Leipzig? Does he go to PSG? Or does he come to the Reds? Cole the Troll, what a poll, said Bradley. Now, there you go. Cole the Troll, what a poll. I'm curious, what's the options for these nuts poll? Well, you can have left one shaved, right one shaved, both shaved, or gorilla. They're the options. They're the options. I came up with that one quite quickly, though, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? So let's take you through the Joshua Abe stuff today as well, because lots of news around that. Paul Joy said Liverpool have already mapped out the next phase of the development of Joshua Abe, which could lead to him being included in the senior squad's pre-season tour of the United States in July, given that many players will have been at the World Cup. He's also likely to be promoted to the under-21 side. And then Anfield Sector said Josh Abe has turned down interest from a host of Premier League clubs to commit his future to Liverpool. Discussions were led by Fenway Sports Group Technical Director Julian Ward, said James Pearce. Sources familiar with the process state that Joshua Abe was offered pro terms in excess of £50,000 a week from Premier League rivals to move away from Liverpool. Ultimately, after taking time to weigh up his options, Joshua Abe and his family decided that the pathway available to the first team at Liverpool meant that his interests would be best served by staying put. And very glad to hear that he did. Really, I am, because I thought we'd lost out on him. Also from Paul Joyce, he said Liverpool have kept wonder kid Josh Abe out of the clutches of United City, Chelsea, after he committed his future to the club. Abe, who turns 16 next month, has agreed a scholarship at Anfield, will then sign a professional deal on his 17th birthday. Where am I at? Sorry, I'm playing catch up here. Done that one. This one from Dean. Would you take Krupi, much love Craig, jog on Cole? Look, the funny thing is, like, I've said this ultimately many times. The difference between me and other people is I don't just ignore my mistakes. This is what the trolls jump on, because I'm honest and own up to stuff. I could just bury my head in the sand and ignore all the stuff, but again, these trolls they're just there looking for attention, and a super chat deserves my attention, to be fair, so I'll give them a humorous reply, but they're never getting a rise out of me anymore, because what this whole incident showed me over the past few weeks was that I am, and I mean this in a complimentary way to you guys, not to me, I'm very much loved, and I feel very much loved, and I feel very much grateful for that. And the support everyone has shown me over the past few weeks has just blown me away. So these trolls can fuck off and do what they want, because they're here every day. So just keep showing up, keep adding to the views, keep pretending you hate me, and I'll just keep coming on and smiling and doing what I do best, which is have a laugh with people and discuss the Reds. Would I take Krupi? Sorry, to get back to your question a second ago, Dean. I would, but I really feel like there are others who are going to push stronger for Krupi. So Paris Saint-Germain's name has been very strongly linked with Krupi, as has Arsenal's. Also, you got to keep an eye on the Julian Alvarez situation. Barcelona were pushing there. Arsenal, of course, were interested previously. And I just don't see a world where Liverpool would need to spend that much money. on a centre forward unless they wanted to sell somebody. And again, that feels like it would be nuts at this point. So I just don't see us making that move. Not with the priorities that we have and the areas that we need to strengthen. Unless like, let's say for instance, IRAOLA said, I need this guy, get me this guy, maybe then. But yeah, it's not something I'm expecting anyway. Would you have Fernandes for 55 to 60 million? Oh, God, yes. Yeah, yeah. A 55, 60 million, I'd be a buyer. Yeah. I think he really is a good up and coming young midfielder. Look, I'm not going to profess to have paid attention to him when he was at Southampton. I didn't. But this year, he really has impressed me with West Ham in a pretty poor season for West Ham, but he's really impressed me. And a 55 to 60 million, yeah. Jaden, the Craig Curious brother, and making you money. I know, and I'm trying to just have a light-hearted laugh with it. Like I don't have the energy to be angry, so I'm just going to smile and have a bit of fun with it. I think it's an easier way to get through the streams when people like that are in them anyway. Probably an approach I should have tried a long time ago. Carbon said, "Hey Craig, I think the youngsters to play. Excuse me. I think we have the youngsters to play in the first team. We need to stop spending money on talent outside of our youth and be like Barca and Dortmund that invest into them to be world class." So I like the idea in theory, but what I would say is the Premier League can be an unforgiving league. Sometimes and I'm not trying to run down other leagues, but sometimes you can coast through some games or manage games in other leagues a lot easier. Whereas the Premier League, on any given day, the bottom team can beat the top team and it can be a competitive game of football. So it makes it more difficult for us to try to be winners and to bring as many youngsters through as I'm sure the academy would want. But it is going to be something I think we'll see more of under Andoni Iraola than we did under Arne, who felt like he wanted to win now and he wanted players for the now. And every manager will have their own setup. So there are coaches who like to work with young players. There are other coaches who want players for the here and now. But the thing that impresses me most about Iraola is wherever he's been, he's lost top players. And he's been able to bring new ones through, get the system where it needs to be, and get results. And the more I've thought about this appointment over the last few days, the more relaxed I'm feeling about it. Still trying to figure out what my expectations are as a fan, but certainly feeling more relaxed about it all. And I think it has the potential to be a brilliant signing, like brilliant. But there's no guarantees in football. But I do think we're going to see patience from Liverpool fans. I really do feel that, because it feels like everybody feels now this is a fresh start, and the old rebuild or transition feels appropriate at this point. But on the youngster front, this was something we touched on the other day. Julian Ward was apparently concerned that Liverpool, under Arne at that point, weren't really showing the pathway and the progression through for some of the great academy talent that they'd brought in. And I think this would have been something that was in the minds of FSG and those executives at the club as they looked to appoint the next one. Hope everybody's doing well. Doing my hour on the treadmill. What did I miss? Nothing major yet, mate, to be honest with you. No, nothing major yet. We're just having a bit of fun. Today was one of the quieter days on the Liverpool front, but I think that's because everything has been geared up towards Iraola coming in to finalise that deal tomorrow. And after that, I fully expect us to kick on. World Cup starting in 8 days, so lots to be working on, lots to be looking into, and still, I guess I better start finalising which games we're going to start doing watch-alongs for on the channel as well. If there's any suggestions or anything, like, I've been trying to think about just doing a Liverpool twist, like, so do we watch the Netherlands? Do we watch Argentina? Do we watch Brazil? Do we watch, I want to do the watch-alongs during the World Cup, but I don't want to do the obvious stuff, like the huge big games only. That just feels like they'll be well covered everywhere else, and I want to do our coverage of it a little bit different. Uh, UKJ101. Doug shirt arrived. Thanks so much. It's amazing. Oh, I'm glad it arrived, mate. Thank you. And thank you for your support and congratulations. Delighted to hear that you're happy with it. Yeah, appreciate that. And glad you like it. Glad you like it. Yeah. Look, I've received and bought, I'm not exaggerating, I must have bought 20 pieces off the collector's corner over the last 18 months. And I've never had to send anything back, never had any complaints, never had anything go wrong. And they really like, and I've bought lots of memorabilia over the years, and it's nearly unheard of for things to go this smoothly. So, that's why we feel so strongly about recommending them, because honestly, as well as knowing the gentleman that runs it or one of the two guys that run it, the quality of the stuff's just top notch. So glad you like it, and again, congrats on winning. James said, what youth players under 21s would you like to see Iriola start implementing into the main squad? So the one immediately, James, that pops into my head, obviously we'll all talk about Rio, and that's obvious, but Neoni is the one for me that I really want to see progress this year. And it was worrying to read that report the other day that said that if, Slot had continued on and things kept going the way they were, Neoni would have, had to look at his future and whether that future was best served staying with the club or not. So I think Iriola coming through, young players would probably feel a little bit of a sense of excitement now. And so Trainee Oni would be the one for me that I would be looking forward to. Knowing how well Iriola has improved some strikers as well, I think Will Wright would be another interesting one to keep an eye on. Yeah, they're the two probably that jump into my mind. There was a deal agreed today for Lucas Stevenson, actually, wasn't there? Lucas Stevenson, yeah. So Liverpool have accepted an offer from Bolton Wanderers for Lucas Stevenson. That was reported earlier on as well by Peter Rourke. Which I have to say, I'm a little bit surprised at that, because he'd look quite good in any of the pre-season or friendly games we'd seen him in. Lee Bachelor, how are we, Lee? Hey, Craig. I'd love Kamara from Monaco and Kyoto from Brentford plus Schlotterbeck and Diamonde. Pretty good, solid options, all of them. When I heard that Richard Hughes was over in Monaco last week, I know he was meeting with Inter Milan officials about Jones, but I can't help but think he was surely trying to have a chat around Akliouche and Kamara as well to see how their situations are, because Akliouche has been linked with us, he's been linked to Paris Saint-Germain and a few other clubs, and it just felt too coincidental. So I wonder if we're going to see something, Lee, about that. Kyoto, I have to say, off the top of my head, I don't really remember keeping too much track of him or his games at Brentford. When I'm looking at Brentford, I'm usually looking at other players like Queven Kelleher to see how he's getting on and stuff like that. And who else did you say? Nico Schlotterbeck's my dream for this summer. I think he would be an incredible piece of business for us to bring in. I would certainly ease my concerns with the centre-back situation moving forward. And to all the trolls that are watching, because I know there's some in the chat waiting, here's what I'm going to say to you, and I said it to Bilal last night. We'd love to welcome you into the chat. There's no need for any hostilities between me, you guys, whatever. Come in, drop down the aggro, drop in, have a chat with us, get to know our amazing community. And I promise you, your evenings will be a lot more enjoyable, because what's the point in you putting in a comment, me banning it, and Mod banning it, you go making another account, come back in. There's obviously something that has you coming back here. And we'd rather get to know you and welcome you into the community than have to constantly just block and throw out. So just come in, have a chat with us, have a bit of a laugh with us. I can take a bit of a joke. I can take being having the piss taken out of me, but I'm all about trying to bring us together, because it's easier. I used to be an angry little fuck. Honestly, I did. I used to go around with a chip on my shoulder big time, but it's too tiring. Life's too short to be going around angry and fed up all the time. Just have a laugh. The days go by better and you feel a bit better in yourself. Cal said, Craig, apart from one marquee winger, I'd like 6, 7 low mid-price bargain players who will be fit and consistent, e.g. bone consistent. Depth for me is key. I agree. We'd need a marquee winger. I'm with you on that. But we need workhorses and we need robustness and we need fitness. And they're things that I think will be key. So yeah, it is going to be a very big window for Liverpool Football Club. But there are some things I think we can do to counteract it. There's no reason we should move Elliott on, in my opinion. Harvey Elliott should be staying at the football club. It just feels like common sense, especially under IRAOLA. I can imagine IRAOLA would absolutely be able to push and improve him a bit more. And yeah, you're right. Nothing wrong with going out and getting some good play. And that's why I think Liverpool are looking at Sangar, at Kamara, players like that, because you've already seen that. Mateus Fernandes just as an equivalent alternative from the Premier League. You're talking about 80 million being the jumping off point for that conversation. And I hate to say this, but I'm being honest. I think Manchester United have got an absolute bargain. An absolute bargain with the player they're getting for 38 million quid, all in, including add-ons from Atalanta. You know my take on Ederson. I've wanted Liverpool to sign him for a few years. And as a Casemiro replacement, I think United have been very clever. And it'll be interesting to see for me how he settles into the Premier League, because I really think he's a good player and an underrated player. And it annoys me that United have gotten him. Raz said, I thought Craig would be in the new studio. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I will be there on Monday. Sorry for anybody who hasn't heard me say it yet, but we just need one small technical thing that stops us being able to live stream from there, and we just need to wait for the part to arrive, and I won't be in before Monday, but I will be in there on Monday. I'm heading off for a few days next week. I'm going over to Spain to a birthday party for 4 days, so I want to get a stream or two done in the new studio before we head away. So definitely is the plan to get cracking on Monday. And I was frustrated that I couldn't get going today, but again, no point in having a stream that stops start, or we can't do what we want to do. So apologies on that one, but a few more days. We're nearly there. Lewis said, when do we expect our first signing will be? I think we'll get one in before the World Cup. I do. I think once IRAOLA is confirmed and in the door, and that looks like it'll be tomorrow. Well, he's arriving in tomorrow anyway, but it looks like we might get an announcement then soon enough. I think we go straight into players then, and maybe at least one before the World Cup. Craig called the slot info and had a small doubt with info coming out. He was ultimately right. Love you, Craig. 2,000 more subs since then. See, as I said at the time, mate, I could have said nothing, but I did have a little bit of a doubt, and I wanted to communicate that doubt to you. And I even said the next time I came back on, look, I've done a video to say I'm sorry and I'm wrong, but I'm not sure I'm actually wrong. I just had some doubt. But look, all that matters to me is what the people that actually frequent the channel think. I know I get rinsed on social media left, right and centre at times, but I don't give a fuck because they don't know me. Anybody that knows me knows that if I say something, I'm usually on the money. And if I don't know something, like 4 or 5 times already today, I'll just tell you I haven't got a clue. But it's part of the game. I'm in the opinions business. It's never something I take personally. I understand why people doubt stuff. I totally do. I just don't like the abuse. You can doubt me. You can say I think you're wrong. No problem. But the abuse, there's just no need for it. And thank you, the truckers here as well. When do you think IRAOLA coming in tomorrow? There will be more. Sorry, do you think when IRAOLA is coming in tomorrow, there will be more of willing for players to play for Liverpool? Yeah, I do. Liverpool are always going to be an attractive proposition, but it can't have gone unnoticed how last season went. It can't have, and that was my big concern. If they had have kept Slot, would we really have been as attractive as maybe we should be in the market? No, I don't think we would have. Also, very interesting to see that Slot has been linked with the Fulham job today. Did you guys see that one? I know he's already been linked with AC Milan, but there's a report today linking him with the Fulham job as well. Where was it? Here we go. So this Fulham fan news account said Arne Slot being considered by Fulham for their next manager. The Dutchman, who was recently sacked at Liverpool, isn't among the front runners, but has been sounded out by Fulham. Slot has been looked at by Leverkusen, AC Milan, and would need convincing to take up the position at Fulham. I'm a little bit surprised that Marco Silva went off to Benfica from Fulham. He was loved at Fulham. Fans loved them. Fulham wanted him to stay, but obviously with Mourinho vacating the role at Benfica, maybe he felt like, going there, European football, maybe another top job after that then. But where do you guys think Arne Slot ends up? If you had to guess, I think Leverkusen or Milan would be. I think both of them could be good for him, because both of them, I think, leagues technically his systems would make sense in, and I think Leverkusen would certainly be patient with him. I think one of those two would be a very good job for him. Tranmere, said Mark. David said Asda. Milan for Oliver. Milan for Ian. Mahmood said Ajax. I don't think he wants the Ajax job. He turned that one down previously, and I think he'd be right not to, because he doesn't want to get pigeonholed into, like, let's say he goes to Ajax and he wins the Eredivisie again. He's just going to kind of get doubts no matter what. I don't think he gets credit if he goes back to Ajax and wins the Eredivisie, because he's supposed to. So I think for him, he's done it with Feyenoord. And yeah, time to move on to pastures new. He's won a Premier League title. So it will be interesting to see, though, if he goes into a club that will be challenging in whatever league it is. So whether it's the Bundesliga or Serie A, whether he'll go to a club that challenges for the league or maybe wants to get into those European places. Angie, Craig, your thoughts on Ederson to United? Yeah, it's I'm disappointed, because I think he'll work out well for them, Angie. That's what I'll say, mate. Disappointed, especially at the price. Like, it just too. It feels like too good of a deal for United, and for as a Liverpool fan, I don't like to see it. Josh, hey Craig, been here since the Twitch days. Love the videos. Thank you, my man. They were fun days. Yeah, that was a fun. That year at Twitch allowed us to make the channel a business. And by that, I mean we had a guarantee with them for a year, on a set fixed income as long as we streamed for an X amount. And that allowed Connor to go full-time at the time, and gave me the pathway to going full-time. So that was a big, big deal for us to take. But after the year was up, I just wanted to come back to YouTube at that point, because as much as I enjoyed Twitch, YouTube just felt like our home. So it felt like a natural thing to come back, and the channel just grown since that point. Thank you, Lewis. Appreciate you. Was in Seafield Gory. Should have texted you. Yeah, you know what? This is really funny, Alex, because there's a house up for sale in Seafield and Gory. That would be my dream house. It's out of my price range now, but they also, as well as the hotel being there, there's like private houses and stuff there as well. And there's a house for sale right there at the minute that I was drooling over last night, because yeah, it'd be my ideal spot to live and my ideal house, but it's not my price range. But yeah, it's a lovely hotel. It's a lovely hotel. I stayed there before when we were having a few things done in our house, and I needed to be out of the house for a couple of days. Top 5 players to benefit from IRAOLA. Good question. Good question. Soboslai, Kirkes, Verts, Rio, Isak. I feel like off the top of my head, those. So yeah, those ones off the top of my head. I'm very excited to see what he does with Isak because the work he did with Dominic Solanke was really, really good. So I'm excited. I think he'll have a plan straight away for how to get Isak to where we all want him to be. So yeah, those are the ones for me, mate. Have I seen the comparison to 2004? Arsenal won the league, we sacked the manager, hire Spaniard, win the Champions League in 2026. Arsenal win the league, we sacked manager, we hire Spaniard. Yeah, I covered it yesterday on the stream. Where was it? Where was it? Where are you? Yes, this one here. It was a post by ESPN UK. It said the wild theories have begun already. 2004, Arsenal win the league. Liverpool sack their manager. Liverpool hired a Spaniard in Rafael Benitez. Liverpool win the Champions League. 2026, Arsenal win the league. Liverpool sack their manager. Liverpool are hiring a Spaniard. ... We know what comes next. Imagine that did repeat itself though, and history happened like that, and we ended up winning the Champions League next year. Okay, here's one for you. Here's a question. Let me put it to a poll. I like this question now that it's in my mind. So, we asked, what happens with Diamonde? Where does he end up next season? 51% say Liverpool, 37% say PSG, 12% say stays at Leipzig. Here's one for you. Let me just type this out and then I'll get your answer. Okay, nearly there, folks. Bear with me. Okay, so if IRAOLA happened to come in, pull a miracle out of his backside, and win the Champions League in year one, which achievement is bigger? Slot to come in and win the Premier League in year one, or IRAOLA to win the Champions League in year one? For you guys, which one of those two achievements, and I know the hypothetical for IRAOLA, of course it is, but if it happened, which is the bigger achievement in year one? To come in after Klopp and win the Prem? I would say IRAOLA to win the Champions League would be a bigger one because he's walking into a bigger mess than Arna walked into. So I would say IRAOLA because I don't think anybody, because the question marks about his European pedigree are already there. You know, people talking about that, maybe 2 games a week. The fact that, he hasn't managed that competition before. I just thought, while we were going through those comments, I thought it would make for an interesting poll question, and we'll revisit that one in a while. Heads would explode though, lads, wouldn't they? Heads would explode. Can you imagine Arsenal fans if IRAOLA came in and won the Champions League in year one? Ooh. I have another poll that I want to ask. Remind me, just say managers poll. Remind me of that if I forget in about half an hour. Just say, Craig, managers poll, and I'll remember what I'm trying to do. But remind me of that one. Can we do a Colombia game? Yeah, look, again, absolutely open to doing anything, Mr. A. Centino. If you guys wanted to do a particular game. Do you know what we might do? We might ask the day before on a stream. We might say, look, lads, here's the games we're thinking of doing. What are you thinking? Because I want you guys to choose what you want us to cover for the World Cup. It's your channel. And it's not like I have any skin in the game as an Irishman. No World Cup for us, obviously. So I'm happy to do whatever you guys like in and around the World Cup. Jaden said, do with Abe what we did with Rio and Gakpo and get Yandy Diamonde on the right wing with him as a senior starter, striker spot secure and dance. So do you know what I'd love to do, Jaden? It's not going to happen. But I'd sell Cody Gakpo and try to get Diamande and Barcola. Imagine we pull that one off. Even, I tell you what, I'll be kind about it. I'll even take Nusa and Barcola because that would be incredible. And then sell Cody Gakpo when we get Hugo back fit. So maybe keep Gakpo till January and then sell him. Nathan said, supporting anybody playing against England. Nice. I'm glad to see, by the way, Harry Kane is top of the betting, or at least was when I checked last, for the Ballon d'Or, because I think he should win the Ballon d'Or. If England have a decent World Cup, quarterfinals or later, I think Harry Kane's name should be on that Ballon d'Or, because I don't see anybody who can hold a candle to his numbers that he's done this season for Bayern Munich. What's your opinion on Vlahovic? That we don't need to spend money on a striker is my honest opinion. And I've never been fully sold on Vlahovic, and he always kind of gave me a bang of Arsenal. I was surprised that maybe Arsenal didn't go down that route. I know they were linked with him at one point, but look, the dream for me to come in to fit into our system was always Julian Alvarez. I made no secret of that last summer, but I knew it was mission impossible. But he, to me, is the perfect one for us because he could play off the left. He could play through the middle. I just think he's a brilliant player as well. Oh, Vlahovic is on a free, is he? Oh, hello then. Hello. Let's have a revisit to this conversation. On a fucking free, you say? I mean, it depends on the wages, I guess, at that point. Where has he been linked with? I've really not paid any attention to Vlahovic. So has he been linked with anyone in particular? If the wages were reasonable and Liverpool wanted to do something, like, my brain said, let's get Lewandowski. Like, that was where my brain went initially, was let's get Lewandowski in for a year. 1 year, let Lewandowski play in the Prem for a year and then maybe go off and do his thing in the MLS or wherever. That's what I would. That's what I'd love. Bring Lewandowski in. It's the type of move United used to do. I remember the likes of Henrik Larsson and that. And in our situation, I think it would be a perfect 1 year deal. Because even at that, imagine having Lewandowski there to work with the young forwards as well, and what you could learn from him. It'd be incredible. You say there's no chance of it. I don't know why we could say no. He's on a free. He's like, his contract's up. So I would say it's not impossible. It depends, I guess, maybe how long Hugo's going to be out for. But let's not forget, folks, we are Liverpool Football Club. We're not the dog and duck here. I'm sure, and for Lewandowski, he's done Bundesliga, he's done La Liga. Little Prem spell, put that on a CV. I mean, I don't know why you think he wouldn't want it, Kyle. Where else are you going to go? Are you saying to me, if you said to Robert Lewandowski, a year in the Premier League with a Champions League club, I think he'd take it. So I wouldn't say no. If he was up for it. Brian, my dad recently passed away, and he was a huge fan of yours, Craig. He grew up in Cork City, and you reminded him of home. I'm so sorry of your father's passing, Brian. Cork, as I'm sure you know yourself, a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. I mean, Cork is stunning place, especially West Cork. But I'm so sorry for his passing, mate. Humbled that he was a fan of the channel, mate. I really am. But sending you love, Brian, to you and your family, bro. I'm really sorry to hear of his passing. But thank you for your kind words. Thank you for letting me know that your dad enjoyed the channel as well. And from all of us here, mate, sending you love and best wishes to you and your family, Brian. I'm going for France for the World Cup. The amount of talent that's in the squad is ridiculous, and we need Nico as our centre back, hands down. Oh, I'm fully on board the Schlotterbeck train, Carbon. Fully on board it. I'll tell you what I did do. I did a little bet for the World Cup. Just it was only a tenner or something, but I stuck on. I think it was 10-1 for France to win and Mbappe to be the top scorer. It was 10-1, and I just thought it's worth a punt. So yeah, it's worth a go. Here's a question for you. Do you think there's any world that Liverpool could try to get Hoyson out of Real Madrid? What are you saying? Do you think there's any chance? Because I've seen a few things about Hoyson and Madrid, and maybe him not being nailed on to stay there. Now, of course, you'd have the connection with Andoni Iraola. I don't think they would, but I fucking love it. That was one that I was genuinely disappointed in last summer, because I really liked the idea of him coming into Liverpool. I don't think there is a chance, but I just seen a couple of little things saying that maybe it hasn't gone as smoothly as he would have hoped. Cal said some money to welcome all the trolls. Nice to meet you. There you go. Top man, Cal. Look at that welcome. Absolute legend. I'll get to you, Soccer Edits, mate. I'll get to your post in 1 second, bro. I heard that Craig is coming to Toronto in September. You heard correctly, my friend, yes. We're going to be in Toronto for the 28th, 29th, 30th, and 1st of October. So 28th September to the 1st of October in downtown Toronto. Then we're going to the outskirts, Mississauga, for a few days, and then we're going to Niagara for 3 days. But yes, we'll absolutely be in Toronto late September. Can't wait. It's been 21 years since I've been in Canada. Eddie said, with Hugo out injured, who would you have as backup for Isak, Jaden, or Will Young? At this point, probably Will Young, because Dan's has had a lot of injuries, and I think a loan for Dan's would probably be the sensible play. But Will Wright, get him on pre-season and see what he does. So yeah, I would say Will Wright for me would be a sensible one. But look, I think the world of Jaden Dans as a player, but I do think he needs to get a good, solid season under his belt and show that he can, get back to playing on a regular basis. But for me, I'd stick with Will Wright as the young backup. But as we'd also seen with Wales, and we touched on earlier on, Eddie, Craig Bellamy was saying Lewis Kumas can also play through the middle. And he was talking about the fact that Wales don't really have, too many options through the middle these days, but they've lots of wide players. So, another option there perhaps. What is the news on Chiesa? Yeah, no problem, dude. Thank you for bringing that one up. My dumb ass probably would have forgot. But yeah, on the Chiesa stuff, here we go. So this report here, Empire of the Cop posted, and they said, Como have shown a real interest in signing Federico Chiesa as they prepare for the first ever appearance in the Champions League, with the Serie A side eyeing Italian players in order to comply with the homegrown squad requirements. Did they get? I thought they only got Europa League. That's how little attention I paid to Serie A. But this one's intriguing because, of course, we play Como in our final pre-season friendly at Anfield before the season gets underway. And it will be intriguing to see if that's true and if there's an offer forthcoming. Could be a win-win for all parties, to be honest with you. Again, not knowing what IRAOLA thinks of Chiesa or what his plan might be, it's really difficult to gauge with any level of certainty. But what would he be worth? Surely 15 to 20, in and around that. But yeah, could be an interesting one, that worth keeping an eye on anyway. Kyle said, how much do you rate Mamardashvili? I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of a way I can explain it without being too overcommittal one way or the other. I still would I still would have him a level below Creevy and Kelleher at this point, in my mind. I was far more convinced by Creevy than I have been so far of Georgie. But yeah, after that, I don't know, because he's the type of keeper that so far I haven't really seen him do anything really wrong for Liverpool, but I haven't seen him do anything that has made me go, oh, hello. It's kind of been steady. No major fuck ups, nothing overly dramatic, but not fully convinced either. On that, on the goalkeeping situation, there was a report today that caught my eye that, according to ESPN in Brazil, Alisson could even consider staying at Liverpool past this season. Now, of course, this would depend on fitness and whatnot, but if Alisson had a season where his fitness issues were behind him or his injury issues were behind him, I mean, there's no reason why Liverpool couldn't extend him by a couple more years, because goalkeepers can play well into their late 30s. So I hope that there's something to that, because I'd love Alisson to hang around for another 3 or 4 years at Liverpool, as long as the injury concerns don't continue to evolve like they have. Hugo. Slot didn't use them, but Hughes sold all the kids. Well, yeah, like some of the players that went out, like Tyler Morton, that's looking like, yeah, it's looking like we could have given him a better shot than we were able to in the end, because he's loved by Leon fans. And look, it's a difficult one, but what some other clubs have been very good at doing is just getting top dollar for their young players. Um, so yeah, it's a tough one, because when you're a manager at a club like Liverpool, you're expected to win, and you don't have the same wiggle room to bring through and have patience shown at clubs like, let's say, Bournemouth. So there's a lot of unknown with what's going to happen with IRAOLA, but the more I look into him, the more I find out about his background. He did 3 years of a law degree. When he was hanging up his football boots, he was considering opening up a bookshop at one point. And apparently as well, his lieutenants, his coaches, are the ones that are more friendly, shall we say, to the players. Like, he's not distant from players, but he allows his coaches to be the buffer between him and the first team players, and then the coaches are the ones to get to know the players on a more personal basis and stuff like that. Just trying to find out all these little details, little things that you can gather over his career to this point. Stevie boy, will Dom sign a new contract? I hope so, because it's into the situation now where if he doesn't sign one this summer or in the first half of the season, I get worried, because the last thing we as Liverpool fans want is Dominic Szoboszlai to be going into next summer with 1 year to go on his deal, and Liverpool not being able to even get the full value if indeed it came to the worst and they had to sell. So I hope he gets a new deal, and I'm sure it's a priority for the club. But again, when a new coach comes in, everybody wants to see what life's going to be like under the new coach as well. So, maybe a couple of these things will be on the back burner for the minute. I did drop a mention on Chloe's YouTube. Craig was right. Look, not thank you, but all good. Honestly, like I said, no, I don't even want to get into it, because I don't want to. I don't want to go down that road again. But thank you, Andrew. I would take Fernandes from West Ham and Alex Scott from Bournemouth. 90 million for both of them. I don't. Well, at least off the prices going around, I don't think you get them both for that price tag. But they're two really good players. So this here from a Manchester United account, MUFC MPB. Manchester United preparing an offer for Mateus Fernandes that could be submitted in the coming days. Let's wait and see on that one. That would be a good midfield rebuild for them if they got Mateus Fernandes and Ederson in the door. That would be a damn good rebuild. Virgil. Comment from our captain. He said, I was surprised to see the news of Arne Slot. I'm thankful to what he's done for Liverpool. Let's hope Liverpool can sort things out because this season we had was below all standards. And it absolutely was below all standards. But I don't know, I'm more excited now and upbeat and optimistic for the new season. Benny. Hey Craig, I'm confused as to how the Champions League got its name when most teams in it weren't champions from the previous season. I'm excited for the new studio. So, I guess it's just a glossy name, mate, you know? It used to be that the league winners went in. You know, when it was the European Cup, the league winners went in and, you know, that was it. But I guess money is probably the answer. And the Champions League, I mean, it does sound pretty good, doesn't it? Like, it does roll off the tongue. Certainly better than the Super League. I think the Champions League, you know what? It is my favourite trophy in all of sport. It's to me, I just, you know, I love the Premier League trophy, but there's something about old Big Ears that just feels like a hug. You know, I fucking love that trophy. It's my favourite trophy. I love the Champions League trophy. And also, by the way, on a quiet news day as well, let me just say thank you. Like 4,000 people in the chat on a quiet news day. Wow. Like I did not expect it to be as busy as it has been. Maybe some new people found our community or whatever, but just want to again extend a thank you and a welcome to anyone that might be new in the chat. We really appreciate having you in with us. DJR05 said, just to let you guys know, I don't know who we're signing. Come on, mate, stop being a fucking liar. You know exactly who we're signing. Don't be holding out us. Come on, come with the goodies. Come on, come with the goodies. Who we signing? Yeah, look, there's very few things for me right now that I could say with a concrete level of conviction that I would say this guy's going to come, that guy's going to come. I'm still mostly in the hypothetical situation. The only one I really, really know is like Diamande Barcola. Those two are both more than strong links. The Bowen stuff, I don't really have that in concrete on. Nico Schlotterbeck. Look, I'm in the David Lynch camp of I don't really believe this line that Liverpool aren't going to bring in another centre-back. And the reason, I can't speak for David, but the reason that I don't believe it is I don't think we could be that stupid. Like, we've surely learned this lesson on centre-backs and not going into a season underprepared in that regard. And saying we're going to rely on Joe Gomez, I mean, it's just even uttering that sentence. We're going to rely on Joe Gomez to be an option for us there. I don't think you can with the injury record Joe has had. And also, he has to be sold for me. I don't want to see him walk out for free in a year. I don't want to see Costas walk out for free in a year. I want those guys to be sold if they're not going to be extended. And it doesn't look like they're going to be extended. So can we please stop letting everybody leave the club for free? It's getting really draining then. Because when you want every penny for the transfer market and you want your club to be as active as can and build the squad out as much as possible, you know, all these small amounts of money, the 6 million here, the 8 million there or whatever, they all add up. Tom said, hey Craigo, who would be our penalty kick taker next season? I think we had this conversation the other day as well, Tom. Soboslai, Maka are probably the two, maybe Isak, that come into my mind. But I'd say Soboslai off the top of my head. Maka is pretty bulletproof from the penalty spot as well. I remember there's one particular penalty that really impressed me for Alexis McAllister. He was playing for Brighton. They were at Old Trafford and they got a very late penalty and there was a huge delay because of United moaning and checks and all that stuff. And I'll never forget it. I felt like he was so composed when he stepped up to take that penalty that it really impressed me. And yeah, I've never forgotten that. I don't know if anyone else remembers that particular game, but it was a big moment, and he stepped up, kept his cool, and scored. So, our poll. We asked you, if IRAOLA won the Champions League in year one, then which achievement is bigger? Slot winning the Premier League in year one, or IRAOLA winning the Champions League in year one? Raekwon said IRAOLA's bigger. We were competing for a title the March last year before Slot. I agree. My vote would have absolutely gone for the Champions League as well, and IRAOLA Raekwon, because he's had no European experience at that competition. Are you worried about Dom's contract situation? I'm not at the point where it's I'm worried yet, but it definitely is a priority. You know, I can't for 1 second imagine that Liverpool don't have that right up on the top of their to-do list. So, you know, if you're a player, you'd want a new manager in first before you commit to anything. So once that's done, I hope we hear very, very quickly that Liverpool are talking with Szoboszlai, because of course no World Cup for Hungary. So that is something that Liverpool can continue to work away on even through the World Cup and all. But yeah, if we start next season and it hasn't been sorted out at that point, it does start to become a potential big problem. What are some of your favourite TV shows? I've got loads, like absolutely loads from various things. Like I love Only Fools and Horses. I love Minder. I love The US Office. I love Seinfeld. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Big Bang Theory. I love The Wire. Sopranos. The Newsroom. Breaking Bad. House of Cards. Yellowstone. Dutton Ranch. Landman, love Landman. I think that's brilliant. And my favourite Irish TV show would be Love Hate. It's an incredible show about Irish gangsters. House, I loved House as well. I thought that was a great show. I think Hugh Laurie's brilliant. Yeah, those are pretty much the ones off the top of my head. But if I had to give you top three, I can't give you an order. Because it's impossible. But my top three would be Sopranos, Only Fools and Horses, and The Wire, probably, if I had to give you three. Oh, I also love West Wing. I thought that was brilliant as well. Seriously concerned about this window. We've so much work to do. 2 wingers, central midfielder, central defensive midfielder, right back, centre back. What's your ideal realistic window? Right back, ideally, Livramento, although I don't think it's going to happen. Ideally, right back, Livramento. Left back, sell Costas and bring in somebody else to compete. Maybe Anthony Robinson, somebody like that. Centre back, Nico Schlotterbeck. Central defensive midfielder, probably Sengar, Kamara, or Fernandes. I think there's better value in the first two. And what was the other positions that you said? Central midfielder, that would be Wharton for me. If we sold Maka, Wharton would be who I'd like to bring in there. Hey Craig, emailed you some of my work. I create some humorous pictures and you and Connor are on some of them on my channel. All in good fun though, mate. No probs. As I've said a few times on the channel, mate, I don't have access to any of our emails. because of some legal things that are happening and some police communications. So I stepped away. So Connor goes through all the emails and then forwards me on anything that he thinks I need to see. But thank you for sending them on, and I will chat with Connor about them and see what he says. If we don't get Diamande for right wing, who would you like? I think Rayan could be good for us. Also, how do you think City get on with Maresca? Feel they struggle? Well, that leads me into another poll question I want to run. So I'll do that in a sec. But to get back to your question, Rayan is an interesting one, and I have seen some loose links with Liverpool and him. Who would I like? I still say Barcola. Because there's nothing to say Rio couldn't shift across to the right. You know, I know the world loves inverted wingers at this point, but I wouldn't mind Rio on the right either. So probably Barcola after Diamande. If we get any one of those two, I think it'll be a good summer. Oh. Fabrizio Romano has said that Fenerbahce are interested in signing Robert Lewandowski as a free agent. So, you know, if he's even considering Fenerbahce, I mean, a year at Liverpool, I wouldn't say no. Grim Reaper, Craig, here's one for you. No, we need another big window. Would you be happy if we bought a few players in the summer, but are still short for winter when we get the rest in January? Yes, I would. And I'll tell you why. I've said a few times over the past week that my expectation this season is that when we come into the second half of the season, that we're peaking, that we're ready for the knockout stages of the cup competitions, that we're ready to kick on at that point and win. And as long as we're in the places we want to be in the Champions League race, yeah, I wouldn't have any issue with that. You know, I think we need 7 players in total. They don't all have to be worldies. They don't all have to be first 11s, but I do think we need that many, and I don't think we can afford to lose more than 3 or 4 and bring in 7, because last summer we kind of did the reverse of that. We let more go. We didn't bring enough in. So let's get to this poll I was thinking about. So, Oxley, I need 50 more votes. So if you haven't voted on this one, quickly if you can. We're trying to get it up to 2,000. If IRAOLA won the Champions League in year 1, what's a bigger achievement? Slot winning the league in year 1, or IRAOLA hypothetically winning the Champions League in year 1? And we'll see if we can give that another 30 seconds and get it up to 2,000 votes. And then I have a managerial poll I wanted to ask you about. Bradley, how are you, my friend? What's your 3 main positions to sign? Right wing, so I mean 2 there. Or right wing, multifaceted, and DM. They're the priorities. Centre back would be immediately after that. Right, we've got over 2,000 votes. You guys are absolute legends. Thank you. Right, so 79% of people. One sec, let me just write this out. One second. Okay. Just add this one in. What's the other one I was trying to think of? I don't want to put that in because that's been a shit house. Yeah, okay. Okay, so there's a lot of new coaches coming into the Premier League this season, and a lot of what we would call the higher caliber clubs have changed coach. So obviously I've left Liverpool out of this. But what I want to know is, who will have the biggest impact of Alonso at Chelsea, Maresca at City, Carrick at United, or De Zerbi at Spurs? I know Carrick isn't necessarily a new signing, but he's got the job on a full-time basis now. So who's going to have the biggest impact at their club? Carrick at United, Maresca at City, Alonso at Chelsea, or De Zerbi at Spurs? Now remember, it's not who's going to finish higher up the league table, who's going to have the bigger impact at their club. And we'll revisit that one in a bit. Charles said, "Hey Craig, just on now, with IRAOLA in, do you think we'll keep Harvey Elliott, and do you see some more youth players coming through over the next year?" So this period of the year right now is when I get most excited about the idea of the next crop of young talent, because pre-season's always a good time to give these lads a run out, especially in a World Cup year, because then, when we're most of pre-season, or especially the US tour, our lads will be on holidays after the World Cup. So lots of opportunities for young players to impress a coach. And then you add in that it's a new coach coming in. I think it's impossible to rule anybody out, because they'll all get a fresh chance. And that would apply to Harvey Elliott as well, I hope. The plan was, and I remember reading this out a few weeks ago, that Elliott was going to come in and probably leave Liverpool, almost certainly quite quickly. But I don't know if the plans would change with IRAOLA or not. I could see IRAOLA doing to Elliott what he did to Justin Kluivert, turning him into that type of player. And I hope he sees something in Harvey that he wants to work with, because I'm a big Harvey Elliott fan. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities in pre-season now for a lot of the younger players. Dembele wins the World Cup, still have Kane for the Ballon d'Or. Dembele, I don't, honestly, I don't want to knock anyone, but Ousmane Dembele to me is the worst player to win a Ballon d'Or in the history of the Ballon d'Or in my lifetime. Really, and I don't mean to say that to be a dick. To me, it's just no. Just I don't. Let alone the idea of him winning it twice. That just seems madness. I'd still, depending on how England do, and I would say England are going to have to get quarterfinals or later, and Kane have a good World Cup. But for me, I don't even think it'd be a debate at that point. I think it has to be Kane. Ebu says he's lost interest in everything but not money. He took the proverbial and is a rat. Number 2, Craig. He has gaslit all the fans. Certainly been a split on what people think about the Canade situation. I think he's played a blinder from his side. Look, I don't want to get into his depression after his dad and Jota, because that's sincere, and that's so much and so difficult for anybody to go through. So I don't want to get into that part of it, because I would never question someone's sincerity over those things. But the situation with his contract, the part that makes me doubt it and feel dubious about it is how quickly the agreement was reached with Madrid. No sooner had he announced he was leaving Liverpool than, 48 hours, and then we're hearing, he's going to Madrid. It feels a bit too fucking convenient for me. So if I had to guess at it, and I would say that Liverpool were given a number that was a little bit outlandish, all in, and he wasn't budging on it because he knew he had other offers. That's how I feel about it. But I'm not going to lose a minute's sleep over it, because Canade is a good defender, but he's not a great defender. Like, he's not a team-defining player. So I'm fine about it. You could find another centre-back to come in and be just as good. And hopefully Xhaka will be. So not too fussed about that side of it. But still, it is really annoying to see 2 players now in the prime of their careers in successive summers walk out the door for nothing. That, our club needs to stop this shit happening, because it's just stupidity and it's just money out the door. This one. Hey Craig, how great does it feel to have cloud lifted up from over Anfield? Looking forward to watching our beloved as a pressing machine again. Brilliant. It feels so good, Mimi Rocks, like so good. You feel, I almost feel a little bit of guilt as well, though, at some point, because it felt like we were all settled in for a fight at that point. We all were zoned in, same direction, wanted change, and we got it. But yeah, the fog lifting, the clouds lifting, it just feels like everybody in and around our club with regard to the fan base is just relieved. I never want to go through a season like last season again for many reasons. Certainly from the Ogo tragedy. That was one of the most difficult streams I've ever had to do. But I felt like I had to come on. The easy thing to do would have been to say, out of respect, we're doing nothing and we're staying away. But I'm not. That's in that moment. I knew we needed to be together, and I knew we needed to talk. And then you got from that and that real low for us all and the heartache for us all into a window where the excitement levels ratcheted up again. So you got Wirtz coming in, Ekatike, Isak, Frimpong. So then you went straight back up into excitement. And then we went unbeaten in the first six, win, 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 win. And then it went down and down and down and down. And it was just mentally horrible. Like, no interest in watching the games really, because it's going to be a hard slog, and people are going to be angry, and you're coming into the chat, and if I feel this way, everybody else is probably going to feel similarly. And it was so tough, and it got so negative at times, understandably, but it wore on me a lot. And yeah, I don't want to go through that again as a season. And I tried to say it was worse for me than the Hodgson time, because at least with Hodgson we knew where we were. And it wasn't like we had a team full of superstars that were just underperforming. The club was just in a mess at that point, financially, squad depth wise, as an attractive proposition to players. And I never want to feel like I did last summer and last season. It was just so hard. Bring on the 19th, 10 a.m. Fixtures released. Just remember, Mark, don't anyone fall for the fake stuff, the fake leaks that come out every year the day beforehand, and they're never right. How reliable is that news about Conor Bradley's injury? Nothing official has come out from the club in a while. Gutted for him personally, if true. Not sure what the wider ramifications meant. So I definitely can't speak to what the wider ramifications mean, because I don't know. I think we all have an idea, but I don't know. But how reliable is it? Look, I would say I've no reason to doubt Chris Williams. None. I think it's a very peculiar thing for him to have come out with if it wasn't. So I fully believe his information is more than credible. And with regards to why we haven't heard about it, again, it's important to remember that these are medical records at the end of the day. Like, there is, I don't know what you guys call it in the UK, but over here it's GDPR, like private information that has to be kept private. So yeah, not surprising we don't hear more about it, because it's medical, and it's up to the player at that point if these things go public. So yeah, I think no doubt, no reason to doubt Chris Williams though, none. Last poll you did, you'll never let us know. 78 people said what? I absolutely did let you know. I read out the results of the last poll without a shadow of a doubt. I'm just trying to think of what the results were now. 1 second. 78% of people said the Champions League was the bigger one. So yeah, Champions League is the bigger success, and I agree with that one. Sorry, mate, if I didn't if I wasn't clear enough with it, my apologies. Sorry, that's on me. Yeah, it was the Champions League win, but IRAOLA will be the bigger one. But apologies, mate, if I wasn't clear enough. Wow. Well, this is a big show from Enrique Riquelme. If Erling Haaland and Rodri don't join Real Madrid with me, I will pay 100% of the membership fees for all 100,000 Real Madrid members. Fuck. Um, that would be interesting to see. Hmm. That would. I'd love to see. I'd love to see if there's a release clause in Haaland's deal, really, or if that's just waffle. But yeah, interesting. So yeah, this guy though has, I think, 4% of the vote for the Madrid presidency. So it will be Perez again. But they always come out with these outlandish bullshit things when they're trying to get elected. Itachi said, I dream about Michael Elise doing his goal celebration in our kit. Besides that, I'm hyped about IRAOLA. Next season will be different than last. I mean, the common sense thing to do here is to swap Cody Gakpo and some money for Michael Elise in 12 months' time. That's surely the common sense thing to do here, Itachi. He's the dream. Like, he is the dream Salah replacement, without a doubt. So, now we've got an opening offer for something that, here, Trollsy, listening, because I told you this months ago, but you're about to hear Craig being right again. So, if you don't want to hear me being right again, maybe earmuffs time. But David Ornstein has just said, exclusive, Manchester City submit opening offer to Nottingham Forest for Elliot Anderson. Manchester City bid rejected by Nottingham Forest, but pursuit ongoing. Club bosses spoke at UEFA dinner last week. No suggestion it was to negotiate deal. Yeah, we'll put that in another one of the Craig was right piles over here, because I said that a long time ago. And that's why I've never really had the conversation on here about Liverpool going after Elliot Anderson, because I feared that he was going to be Rodri's replacement, and it's kind of been, yeah, it's one of those things that inside the industry has been pretty much known for ages. But I would have loved him at Liverpool. I think he's a really good player. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. It really, really is. But yeah, that's why I never wanted to even daydream on here about Anderson, because I knew it was just, I would have just been getting our hopes up for nothing. So let's check our poll. Who will have the biggest impact is the question. Alonso at Chelsea, Maresca at City, Carrick at United, or De Zerbi at Spurs? I'm very intrigued to see how you guys answer this one, because I guess it depends on how you quantify a big impact. Here's one actually. Chelsea have no European football, right? Am I right in that, or did they get Conference League? I think they've got no European football. Is that right? Someone just confirmed to me that I'm right on that one. Chelsea got no European football. Because with no European football, I would expect Chelsea to be like United were this season, right up there, because of one game a week and the squad size that they have. So I expect Chelsea to definitely be at the top end, like the top 4 places consistently, because they have so much time now. But it'll be interesting to see, transfer budget wise, what impact this has, because I swear I'm not misremembering this. I remember a few years ago, the whole point of what Blue Co were doing was that they had to have Champions League football every year to sustain the spending and the model of the way they were doing it. And I remember when they started spending all the money they spent, lots of football finance experts were saying things like, this model is dependent on them being in the Champions League, and if they don't qualify for that, they're going to be up shit creek. And I feel like Chelsea, of all the clubs in the Premier League, somehow have a never-ending ability to spend money. Whether it was the Abramovich era, whether it's with Blue Co, it just feels like it's never ending, and there's no fucking comeuppance for it. So it'll be interesting to see what impact financially this has on their business this summer. You know, they could probably, if they sell Enzo Fernandez and they got the money they wanted there, maybe, but I don't think anyone's going to pony up the £120 million that they're looking for. My Ak on said, realistically, how many players do we need? Seven. No, seriously, seven. Seven and no more than 4 or 5 out. But do I think we get seven? No. But that's the number for me. I think we need 7 players in. This time next year we'll be millionaires. Indeed we will. Rodney. I don't know, lads. I couldn't be a millionaire. I'm not made to be a millionaire. It's not. No. I'm not wired to be a millionaire. It's just it wouldn't suit me. I'd be no. Look, put it this way: if I was a millionaire, I'd be a millionaire for about a week, and then I wouldn't be. You know, so. DJ Oro5 said, trusting Gomez to stay fit is like marrying Bonnie Blue, trusting her to stay loyal, then get surprised when she's having a golden shower from 4 fellas. I'm very proud to say I don't know who the fuck Bonnie Blue is. Proud to say that. Genuinely, no idea who that is. Nor have I ever watched a golden shower video anywhere. I can say that wholeheartedly. I have a very boring search history in that regard. But yeah, I'll take your word for it. I'll have to just take your word for it. Craig mentioned being a millionaire and just got an ad for plus 500. I said I couldn't be a millionaire. I wouldn't suit being a millionaire. I very much absolutely am not anywhere near being a millionaire. Trust me on that one. I absolutely love you guys here. It's great to see all the positivity. And Craig, you and Connor are feckin' awesome. Been watching for years, never stop. Thank you, man. Yeah, look, over the since Slot has gone, I've had one main focus: to come on and just try to be positive. That's it. You know, I can see how people thought we were a negative channel in that whole Slot era, but I'm not a negative man. Most of the time, I like having a laugh, and I like, you know, watching the Reds and getting excited. But yeah, I feel so much more positive now. You know, I'm really excited to watch Liverpool again this season. Star Applier said, ideal summer, Diamonde, Bowen, Zabarni and Sangar. So there was a few links today actually with Mr. Zabarni or Zabarni, I can never pronounce his name. There's been a few links with us and him. I just don't know. I don't know if it's PSG maybe looking to cash in, or if it's a lazy link for coming back to IRAOLA. I don't know. But we need a centre back, so as long as one comes in, I guess. But I'd rather it be Nico Schlotterbeck. Would I take Darwin back on a free? No, I wouldn't. For a few reasons. One, I don't like going back with players. The only one I ever made the exception for and was really happy about was Robbie Fowler. When Rafa brought him back, I was buzzing. But no, I wouldn't. And look, it's nothing to do with liking, not liking Darwin. It comes down to, if he's not good enough for Al Hilal, the fuck is he good enough for us? So no, for that one. Thank you. Bootle bad boy. Darth Rain, don't understand this not going for Senesi on a free with Iriola coming in. Seems an easy win to me, even as a squad player. FSG baffle me at times. So I don't know the extent of the commitment he's given to Spurs. I haven't got a clue on it. Like yourself, that was immediately where my head went. When I knew we needed centre back, I just thought, well, here's a Premier League tested one there. And yeah, look, if he has given his word to Spurs and he's a man of his word and he doesn't want to change it, that's cool as well. But I'm sure it would have come up in a conversation somewhere. Liverpool are, not short of tracking people and not short of dossiers on people. So if we don't make any move, and it's not just us, like you've not really seen anybody else try to come in to hijack that deal for Senesi. So maybe it is just, I gave my word, I'm going, You asked me this one a second ago. I wouldn't take him back, no. Not at all. I'd rather get Lewandowski in for a year than take Darwin back, mate. And it's nothing to do with not liking him, hating him, none of that stuff. Just being there, didn't work out. Roll on. Do you think we should tell Maka to free up the money? Yes. I had to think about it because I know my answers can be blunt and to the point at times, but yes, I would. There's a couple of reasons why I say I would sell Maka. Was last season an anomaly, or was that the new norm? I don't know the answer to that, but there's a doubt there. Contract situation. He's coming into the 2-year mark now, which is usually where conversations would start. His father has said no conversation so far with Liverpool, but he's also said nobody from Madrid has reached out either. So I do think there's a good chance Maka, at least offers arrive in from this summer. It'd be interesting to see, and I've not seen a real link to this, but in my head I'm thinking, right, if it's not going to be Real Madrid, who is it going to be? And I could see a world where maybe Atleti look at him, if, their budget allows, but yeah, I would, because if we need to bring in money, he's the one that I look at in the midfield and think top fee could be gotten, and he's one of the older profile of a midfield. Not old by any stretch of the imagination, but of our midfield profile, he's one of the older ones. So I would, Jack, I would sell. I don't know if everybody else agrees, disagrees, but I've kind of been mentally preparing for the idea of that since last summer. I just, something in me just said, I think this will be the year McAllister moves. Would you take Maka for Camavinga? No, I think I'd want money along. But look, it doesn't matter. It's what the club want to do. If the club looked at Camavinga and thought, yes, and then a deal could be done maybe. But there was a list of players that Mourinho was apparently said he's willing to let go at Real Madrid, and Camavinga was on that list. Camavinga, Rodrigo Goes, and then Garcia, I think, was another one. And I can't remember the other 2 or 3 names on it, but you've got to wonder about his injuries as well. But I've always liked Eduardo Camavinga, and the day he stood out to me most was when Ireland played France. I remember just watching him run that game in midfield and just thought, yeah, he's fucking legit, him, isn't he? But again, it depends on the profile of the player that the new coach wants in that role. What attributes IRAOLA is going to want from somebody in there. Has Lewis joined Anfield Agenda? Indeed he has, yes. Now, we're not on an exclusive situation with Lewis. He's not a full-time employee with us, so we've already, we're happy for him to continue to do a few bits elsewhere as well. But yep, Lewis is part of Team Anfield Agenda, and we'll be putting out 3 videos a week and a podcast a week. That's the plan for the time being, and then we see how it goes. And we all hope that in the not too distant future, maybe we can bring him in full time. Because we have to see how the new relaunch version of Anfield Agenda Extra goes. But my plan is to not really have a huge input into Anfield Agenda Extra, to allow that to be others to make their way in the content world, and to help just support them, give them the platform, and go from there. But really impressed so far. Really like Lewis as a guy as well. So yeah, and Ben's you'll see on a couple of bits as well with us this season. But yeah, I have to say I love Lewis's work. I think he's really good. His first video, I loved it. I loved it for loads of different reasons. I loved it because it was something that we didn't offer on the channel to that point. I loved it because it showed a little sense of humour, and we're all about taking the piss and having a laugh here. So yeah, I thought it was brilliant. Craig, does it concern you that IRAOLA never got a taste of winning any trophy? Not really. No, Mohammed, not really, mate, because I think of it like a player. You have to go up through the levels and then get there. Because you could have said the same about Harry Kane. Like, just because Harry Kane before went to Bayern Munich had never won trophy, doesn't mean he's not a brilliant striker. So I would say IRAOLA was destined to move to a big club, and now he is. So let's take it from there and see how it goes. What else we got? Marcus Palestra, Liverpool. I can't really say I've seen, much of concrete interest. So Newcastle's name was mentioned, but then again, Luke Edwards, remember him? Luke Edwards said that Newcastle are sort of denying interest and think he's off elsewhere, and their name is being used and thrown around. But Inter Milan have been the ones that have been, I can't imagine Milan. Well, they couldn't really stop Dumfries going, I guess, because he has the release clause. But their plan had been to try to get Palestra from, was on loan at Cagliari, but played for Atalanta. But I think they're still negotiating over 5 million, something like that, in the difference. Oof. So India said that Forest want more than the 105 million Arsenal paid for Declan Rice for Elliot Anderson. Ouch. Just got a little bit of information there. So apparently we have an eye on Mateus Fernandes. Just had a journalist message me on that there. But the 80 million part is, I think, keeping us at a distance at this point. It just feels too high. So here is the Madrid Zone post about the players that Real Madrid have apparently informed that Mourinho doesn't want. And they are Eduardo Camavinga, Rodrigo Goes, Franco Mastantuono, which I have to say I find really weird. But we'll get back to that in a minute. Fran Garcia, Raul Asensio, and Dani Ceballos. So Franco Mastantuono, he only came in from River Plate. And that kid was, I remember watching a few games from at River Plate, and he's a really good player. So I'd be surprised if Mourinho wants him out the door, unless there's attitude stuff or something I don't know about. It just feels strange, that one, because interesting. So apparently the Indicator post about the 105 million was him quoting Ornstein. So yeah, apparently the 105 million upwards is the number. Craig, maybe you touched on this, but what did you mention of John Barnes' comments? Says the fans sacked Slot and not the owners. I actually didn't know about the comments from John Barnes on that. I don't know what to say. So it feels unfortunate that he said that, because you can't in one breath shower Liverpool fans with praise to say they know what they're looking at, they're knowledgeable football fans, and then say that they turned on the manager for no reason, or that the fans got him fired. The results got him fired. Make no mistake about that. The results got him fired. Losing 20 games in a calendar year at Liverpool or in a season got him fired. The lack of an identity got him fired. The lack of really feeling like he ever bought into the whole ecosystem of the club got him fired. So yeah, I don't really want to get into the thing about John Barnes rather because yeah, he was an idol of mine. But ultimately, I guess the shithouse answer is I don't give a fuck who got him fired as long as it was done because it needed to be. And I would have done it sooner. If it was my football club, he'd have been gone by Christmas. But yeah, I don't know. You know, he's entitled to his own opinion, same as everybody else. So, you know, we don't always have to agree. Rio, oh, excuse me, R.I.P. Go Star Girl, wherever she is. She continues to live through this channel. Fly the highest, shine the brightest, never forgotten. Class act, mate. Thank you. Corner taken quickly. Class act. I'm hoping Elliot gets a fresh start. Too good. Same as myself, mate. Same as myself. Brightened up my night watching you. Thank you, man. I won't lie. I've been sick all day on the sofa. So I've told you I'm taking the Wegovy injection. So you do that once a week, and when I take it every Monday. So I do my injection every Monday when I get up, and for some reason the second day, so the Wednesday, always feel the worst. And then I've had like a throat and nose thing as well that have been keeping me a little bit unwell. So yeah, today was a rough day, and I didn't even know if I was going to be able to stream because I couldn't do a video earlier on. But just about managed to get enough energy and to calm down a little bit. So yeah, thank you, appreciate you. Would I take Rayan or Somerville? Maybe Rayan, no to Crescencio Somerville for me. But there's been a few players over the years that we've been linked to it, like Somerville, that haven't really excited me. And another one that we've been linked to it a little bit that didn't excite me was Minta. I never really was overly excited about the idea of Liverpool signing Yakuba Minta either. Right, so before we start winding down the stream, let's get a result on this poll. So we'll give it 5 more minutes if you haven't voted yet. We want to know who will have the biggest impact at the new clubs. Will it be Alonso at Chelsea, Maresca at City, Carrick at United, or De Zerbi at Spurs? Do I take electrolytes? That might help. No, I haven't. No, I haven't taken anything. Yeah, I just had I always, when the weather changes from warm to cold, cold to warm, I always get like an ear, nose, throat thing, and it just knocked the bejesus out of me over the last few days. Yesterday you said we need to stop thinking about starting lineups. Remember the Champions League lineup, play for the first time together that game. I would like us to get Diamonde and a top centre back and workhorses. I don't know what you mean by the first part. I did say it. I absolutely said it. I just don't know what you mean in the context of that post. Yeah, we can't just think about starting 11s, and that's why I said we need 7 to come in and no more than 3 or 4 out, because we need depth and we need to make sure that if we have an injury, that it isn't like, let's say we go into the season and we haven't got another centre back and Joe Gomez gets injured. Like, is anyone going to be surprised? So these are the things I think we can't say, let's roll the dice when history has taught us that usually hasn't worked out well. And yeah, I'd love Diamonde. I'd love Schlotterbeck. I'd love Wharton, Fernandes, Sangar, Kamara. There's lots of players I'd be happy with. But I think we really will get a better idea over the next few days what way we're going in that direction, because once the club makes the announcement on Andoni Iraola, who is flying in tomorrow to, finalise everything, sign the contract, and then he becomes Liverpool head coach. Is Thiago coming back as a coach? I don't know if anybody knows definitively yet. certainly being talked about. There's been plenty of journalists who said he's interested in the idea. I think even David Lynch said that wouldn't be surprised if a former Liverpool player came back. So, you know, the ones that are possible, I guess, might be Milner, him, Adrian. We ran through a list of ones that have their coaching badges the other day. Joe Matip has his badges. So, yeah, maybe. Look, again, just the vibes. If TR goes in and around the club again, it'd be class. Lad, if you had to sell 3 players in turn to buy 3 players with unlimited but realistic transfers, who are you buying? Can I answer that one tomorrow? Because I'm just about to finish up, and I promise you, Don Bosco, if you ask me that one tomorrow, I'll have a think about it tonight and I'll give you a better answer tomorrow. Right, I'm going to say goodnight, ladies and gents. I'm absolutely shattered after this cold and whatnot. So tomorrow, Connor will be here in the morning. I should be here early evening with a video. I'm recording with Bence and Lewis tomorrow for an Anfield Agenda podcast episode. And we'll see what happens then tomorrow night as well. So look, let's finish up this poll. And the one with the biggest share of the votes at 50% was Xabi Alonso at Chelsea. You guys reckon will have the biggest impact. Second was Roberto De Zerbi at Spurs. Then Carrick at United and Maresca at City only getting 10%. So appreciate that one, folks. If you haven't hit that like button before you head off, please do. And I will see you guys tomorrow.